Heya Cryptozens, tonight's show, the Lummis-Gillibrand Bill. It's 10 p.m. Pacific time. The date is January 7th, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nicodemus. I'm your host. The cover model, mascot, and co-host for this podcast is Tex. And together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. So take a minute, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast now, because we're here at 10 p.m. each and every night so that when you leave in the morning, you're taking with you the crypto news analysis that you need to start your day. Keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. At long last, rumor and speculation are laid to rest. I know it's not technically the Lummis-Gillibrand Bill. Called the Responsible Financial Innovation Act, or RFIA, it is here at last, and the world is a better place for it. Today was the day that Senators Cynthia Lummis and Kirsten Gillibrand unveiled their plan. They're aiming to create a regulatory framework for crypto. Now, the entire 69-page text has been both introduced to the U.S. Senate and has been released to the general public as well. That's effective as of today, June 7th. According to a press release related to the bill, it, quote, addresses CFTC and SEC jurisdiction, stablecoin regulation, banking, tax treatment of digital assets, and intra-agency coordination. Further, it says, quote, understanding that most digital assets are much more similar to commodities than securities, the bill gives the CFTC clear authority over applicable digital asset spot markets. Now, the pair were on CNBC this morning, and a good part of this interview was centered around what the role of the Securities Exchange Commission is compared to crypto, compared to the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Senator Lummis said, quote, we're trying to just fit the digital asset world into our current regulatory framework. We spent a lot of time on the definition of the modern Howey test. And this is not happening in a vacuum. SEC Chairman Gensler knows what's coming up. Senator Lummis said, quote, we're going to continue to work with both the CFTC and the SEC to make sure that we both have found the right mix of using the Howey test to sort out which of the agencies best can regulate. We think that because we're using the Howey test, it's going to come out just fine. During the interview this morning, Senator Gillibrand said, quote, it is our job fundamentally for Congress to write these laws and regulators to implement them. They don't get to decide what they keep and what they don't. And that's relevant because Chairman Gensler has been quite specific in his statements. For some time now, he's made it clear it's his belief that most cryptocurrencies are securities. And if they're securities, they fall under the SEC. Let's take a quick look at the markets. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $1.26 trillion. It's down 1.07% since yesterday. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin down 0.98%, Ethereum down 3.09%, Tether, USDC, and Binance Coin down 2.48%. Which they're doing pretty well, given the whole SEC investigation. So, do you see what Gensler's problem here might be? It was just last month, in the middle of May, that Chairman Gensler was citing his concerns about cryptocurrency enforcement. He submitted written testimony for a hearing with the House Committee on Appropriations. And it was in that meeting that he said he supports President Biden's request to budget more than $2.1 billion to the SEC for this fiscal year. One of the things that pays for is 50 new bodies in the SEC's enforcement division. And that move drew sharp criticism. Specifically, the question was, why does a regulatory agency need that much in the way of enforcement staff? It seems to me that regulatory authorities should be hiring regulators, and enforcement agencies should be hiring enforcers. Now, what he said was that he had concerns about the crypto space. He said the markets were, quote, highly volatile and speculative. He also said that they needed new tools and expertise to address enforcement adequately. He said, quote, "The additional staff will provide the division with more capacity to investigate misconduct and accelerate enforcement options. It will also strengthen our litigation support, bolster the capabilities of the Crypto Assets and Cyber Unit, and investigate the tens of thousands of tips, complaints, and referrals we receive from the public." The SEC chair said investors weren't well protected. He said the regulatory body was limited in forms of enforcement capabilities. True. He said, quote, "We'll use our enforcement tools to bring enforcement actions against crypto trading platforms, but I prefer if they come in. We're not trying to grow really significantly, but resources to grow at least 6% to grow our enforcement arm in this space." 6% seems like a lot. So that's going to be his problem with this. Gensler has what he believes is his area of influence. This is his fiefdom. And now a bipartisan effort might upend all that. Okay, so the big bomb here is that, according to this bill, most cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, are commodities. They would be legally classified as commodities and thus would fall under the regulatory authority of not the Securities Exchange Commission, but the Commodity Future Trading Commission. And we talked about this recently. Last month, Rostin Benham made his case, and he agrees. Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. At the time, he acknowledged that the digital assets market has both commodities and securities. He said, quote, "There may be, in fact, hundreds, if not thousands of security coins, but there are plenty of commodity coins that I think it makes sense, as we've done historically, to make sure that each agency has jurisdiction over commodities and securities respectively." So that means it's his opinion that cryptocurrencies, for the most part, should fall under the purview of the CFTC, which falls right in line with this bill. That's the work that they're trying to get done. And I think that's where there will be some friction between the two commissions for the next few months. But things like that are never particularly easy, especially when both sides are sincere in their opposing beliefs. Benham said, quote, "It's going to be difficult from a legislative standpoint, and given the novelties of some of these coins and the technology, we're going to have to figure out what will constitute the security under the traditional securities law and what would constitute more of a commodity so that we can regulate appropriately given the two different legal structures." And that looks like what they're trying to address. Now, this bill also talks about crypto securities that don't meet the Howey test. Interest payments, dividend payments, profits, or revenue shares from, quote, "entrepreneurial or managerial efforts of others." Stablecoins, of course, are mentioned. No big surprise there. We talk about stablecoins a lot recently. Well, the senators have proposed some rules for stablecoins. High-quality liquid assets, which I believe is appropriate. They said, quote, 100 reserve asset type and detailed disclosure requirements for all payment stablecoin issuers. And speaking of stablecoins, they're adding a provision in there so that banks and credit unions can also issue stablecoins, which is really interesting, especially given that the issuers of stablecoins won't be required to meet the same thing as they would if they wanted to be a depository institution. They don't have to meet that level of rigor. Now remember, we were just talking the other day about UK and Japan's new and proposed rules for stablecoins. In their cases, you'd effectively have to become a bank. At least you'd have to meet their stringent requirements. This bill doesn't do that. However, it does say, quote, existing stablecoin issuers and new entrants into the market have an adequately opportunity to compete with existing banks and credit unions. They also threw in some language from a previous bill. They want to clarify what the role and meaning of crypto broker is. You see, their goal is to keep folks from, like wallet providers and software developers, to keep them from being held to the same impossible for them tax reporting requirements. But they are not cutting out the SEC entirely. They're requiring specific financial disclosures to be sent to the SEC. This is for organizations that raise funds through digital asset sales. The reasoning behind that one is to make sure, quote, market participants and our securities regulatory community receive detailed and accurate disclosures about those digital assets that are widely traded, but in a manner that encourages innovation. And another thing, and this will make some people happy. If you're one of these people that want to use your crypto like cash, this is going to make you happy. Because small-scale purchases of goods and services, there are no tax implications. That's right, transactions of value up to $200 would be tax-free. Now, the CFTC currently doesn't have much of a reach into cash markets at present. And a lot of people were hoping for a self-regulatory organization. Yeah, that's not in this bill. What that means is that the CFTC will be getting a bit of an allowance. Similar to the model that supports the SEC, crypto operations, so things like exchanges, they would be paying the CFTC so that they can maintain their operations. All of this said, I don't think this is going to come off. This is a huge, expansive bill. It's a very big bite to take. And it is a subject a lot of honest legislators will readily admit that they just don't understand. What I'm hoping happens is that this bill becomes a starting point for the conversation. On the subject of cryptocurrencies, there's been a lot of hemming and hawing when it comes down to specifics. Gensler, he tells crypto firms, come in and talk to us. Let's find out if you're a security or not. With all due respect, Chairman Gensler, that is not a good answer. People shouldn't have to be guessing whether they're going to be in trouble or not. They shouldn't have to guess whether they're going to fall under somebody's authority or not. That should be clear from the outset. I expect the bill to be broken down into more manageable chunks and handled in parts. You've got Gillibrand on the CFTC and on the Ag Committee. Now, the Agriculture Committee, they have a say because Agriculture Committee oversees commodities. So is this bill a good thing? Ultimately, I would say yes. We've already covered that I don't think it's going to pass. But what it is, it's a strong, tailored regulatory framework. And that's not a bad place to start a conversation from. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for listening. You have no idea how much that means to me. If you enjoyed tonight's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a glowing review, because that helps other people find their way to this podcast. We're here each and every night at 10 p.m. Pacific to bring you the crypto news analysis that you need to start your day. You can find us on podcasting platforms everywhere or on YouTube. Do you have questions or comments? Reach out and let us know. The email address is nick@cryptoovernighter.com. That's nick@cryptoovernighter.com. Or come find us on YouTube. Leave me a comment and maybe I'll read it in the next episode. We'll see you tomorrow night.